Greetings from Aaron Layman Properties. It's getting rough out there for prospective home buyers. Denton County house payments hit record highs in July. Prospective home buyers continue to get pinched by higher mortgage rates and the rebound in North Texas home prices through the first half of the year. As mortgage rates mushroom back towards 7%, area house payments have soared for buyers using a market rate mortgage. Median home prices came in at $475,000 for the month of July in Denton County. The median house payments for Denton County buyers factoring in the rise in interest rates translates to a principal and interest payment of over $2,500 per month. That's just for the mortgage loan. A Denton County home buyer was looking at a monthly payment of over $3,400 in July. Those are conservative estimates factoring in a 20% down payment. Total monthly payments would be even higher for buyers putting less money down. The numbers get even more nuts if you look at the average home prices of $568,000 in July. That would translate to a principal and interest payment of roughly $3,000, with a total house payment of over $4,000. House payments for prospective buyers have essentially doubled from where they stood at the beginning of 2021. Principal and interest payments have skyrocketed 130%. As homes become increasingly unaffordable, home sales have continued to stagnate. Closed sales posted a noticeable drop in July, while pending contracts dipped as well. Contract activity was 7% lower than last year. This is a longer-term view of sales activity in Denton County. As I've said before, it is likely premature for the housing industry pundits to be calling a bottom in the housing market. A recession is still squarely in play, and it looks like sales activity is going to get pushed lower again heading into the end of the year. Higher mortgage interest rates continue to take a bite out of housing demand. This is why we are seeing local home builders ramp up incentives again. Mortgage rate buydowns have become a critical ingredient behind recent sales activity. Those incentives aren't going away as long as rates stay elevated. While headline inflation is finally cooling, the reality is that homes, cars, healthcare, and insurance are all still very expensive. If you strip out all the things that consumers need on a regular basis, inflation looks to be making some improvement. In the real world, asset price inflation has put a major dent in consumers' purchasing power. It was always dishonest for the Federal Reserve officials to pretend that inflation was transitory. Inflation spiked post-COVID because the Fed was monetizing monstrous deficits. The sad part is they are still doing it. Government spending over the last 12 months has been off the rails, with over $6.7 trillion spent just keeping the illusion of a strong economy going. Did we say the election cycle has started? The U.S. budget deficit for 2023 is like a giant sinkhole. The Congressional Budget Office estimated last week that the federal budget deficit reached $1.6 trillion in the 10-month period ending in July. The agency said the amount of more than doubled the deficit seen during the same period last year, while noting a 10% drop in revenues and a 10% increase in outlays. If you were wondering how the stock market and the housing market were able to rebound during the first half of the year, well, wonder no more. As I've said numerous times, liquidity continues to be the driving force behind the housing market. The pent-up demand story continues to be a work of fiction driven by monetary and fiscal stimulus, with the Fed monetizing an increasingly larger pile of debt. The Fed's bloated balance sheet now still stands over $4 trillion higher than before the pandemic. The Fed is still sitting on $2.5 trillion in mortgage-backed securities. Those are the same instruments the Fed used to lower mortgage interest rates to the basement during the pandemic and severely distort the housing market. Prospective home buyers are now paying dearly for the Fed's hubris and market-distorting activities. Headline inflation has been moderating for most of the year. That's good news. That doesn't mean the Federal Reserve has won the battle against inflation. Many industry pundits and apologists continue to talk about a soft landing for the U.S. economy. They are missing the bigger picture. There's a lag effect to monetary policy. While some progress has certainly been made this year in terms of inflation, much of the damage is still lurking in the system. Core services inflation is still ripping at 6.1% in July. Most consumers can relate. It's still really expensive to get work done when you need it. No real surprise there. When asset prices spiral higher, workers respond by demanding higher wages. This is exactly what we are seeing. This fact has not been lost on some of the Fed, even if they won't say it out loud. They understand they will have to push the economy into recession to truly kill that inflationary impulse. If the current wage price spiral were to reaccelerate, that would wreak havoc on the economy and markets. In layman's terms, that would be really, really bad for the housing market. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, stay tuned. It's going to continue to be interesting. Thanks for tuning in.